Gaming history. Dinner party games. Brought to you by the Tech Deck. Wink Murder. The murder mystery party game was born through Wink Murder, which debuted in the early 20th century. One player was selected to be a murderer and could kill other players by winking at them. Wink Murder was a party game in which a secretly selected player was able to kill others just by winking at them, while the surviving players tried to identify the killer. The game is variously known as Wink, Killer, Murder in the Dark, Lonely Ghost, and Killer Killer. The minimum number of players is 4, but the spirit of the game is best captured by groups of 6 or more. The game could be played where players are seated in a circle or wandering around rooms at any social event. Next, in 1937, the first murder mystery game debuted, called Jury Box. Players are asked to solve 6 cases as members of a jury. In Jury Box, the players are jurors who are given a murder scenario and evidence of the crime scene presented by the prosecutor and defendant. The players deliberate whether the defendant is guilty or not. The game was created by Roy Post and published by Parker Brothers. It's considered a predecessor to the modern murder mystery games. And for each case, the players act as individual members of a jury, trying to determine whether the defendant is either guilty or innocent using the evidence provided by them. One person is selected prior to the start of the game to serve as the district attorney, who reads the story of the crime and presents photographs. And after the story has been read and the evidence considered, each player writes down their solution to the case, listing the guilt or innocence of the defendant, along with why they think so based on the evidence. Each player whose solution matched the supplied verdict scores points, and additional points were awarded if the reasoning was correct. In 1948, Cluedo, or Clue in North America, was the first murder mystery board game. Players raced to identify a killer. The players moved from room to room in a mansion to solve the mystery of who done it, with what, and where. Players are dealt character, weapon, and location cards, and one of each of those types was secretly placed in a confidential file. The players moved from room to room to make suggestions against the character saying they did it in that room with a specific weapon. Another player would then reveal any one of the cards mentioned if it were in that player's hand. And then through deductive reasoning, each player would figure out which character, weapon, and location were in the confidential file. Then each player would uncover cards that were in other players' hands, and when enough information was known, players could deduce which cards were in the secret file and make an accusation, and if correct, that player would win. In the 1980s, how to host role-playing murder mystery games were created. The scenarios were simple, the acting and directions minimal, and relied on impromptu responses to questions. They were published by Decipher Inc. Players take on the roles of suspects after a murder has occurred, attempting to expose one of them as the murderer. The first game in the series was called The Waters Down Affair, and it was published in 1985. Many other how to host murder games have been published since then, and the line has also spun off things like how to host a teen mystery. In 1986, a game called Mafia, also known as Werewolf, was a Russian social deduction game that was created by Dmitry Davidoff. The game players sit in a room with a number of secret mafia members that conspire to murder innocent players during a night phase. Mafia spawned a genre of social deduction games where players attempt to uncover a secret subgroup. In Mafia, there's a conflict between 2 groups, an informed minority, the mafiosi, or werewolves, and an uninformed majority, the villagers. At the start of the game, each player secretly is assigned a role affiliated with one of these 2 teams. The game has 2 alternating phases. First, a night phase, during which the night killing powers may covertly kill other players, and the second, a day phase, in which all surviving players debate and vote to eliminate a suspect. The game continues until one of the factions achieves a win conditions. And for the village, this means eliminating the evil minority, and for the minority, it means reaching a numerical parity with the village. The follow-on set of games, the genre of games that were created, the social deduction games, were games where players attempted to uncover each other's hidden roles or team allegiance. Commonly, these games are played with teams. Players use logic and deductive reasoning to try to deduce one another's roles, while other players can bluff to keep other players from suspecting them. Social deduction games work to try to make that a mystery. These games now include Mafia, which was in where we just saw the mafiosi knew who each other were and were trying to kill the villagers. Bang, in which the sheriff's role is known to everybody. Secret Hitler, in which fascist knows whose fascists are, and except for the player who plays Hitler. And The Resistance, Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, Spyfall, and many others. The here shown is The Werewolves of Miller's Hollow, which was created by Philippe de Pelaire and Hervé Marley, that can be played with 8 to 47 players. It was also based on the game Mafia, and players are secretly divided into townsfolk and werewolves, and during the day the villagers accuse someone as a werewolf, and the player with the majority of the votes is then executed. The game ends when there are only townspeople or werewolves left. Host a Heist Dinner Party is a tech deck game that follows in the tradition of these dinner party games. It's a game meant to take place over the course of a dinner. The host explains the backstory to everyone. Low-key, a thief has stolen the Sword of Avalon. The players work together to perform a heist and return that sword to the city over the course of a dinner. Players discuss how they get into the estate, get past the guard, get past the security dog, bypass the security system. And it's a cooperative game that takes place over the course of a dinner that involves interesting dinner conversation and culminating in cracking a safe. So thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this history of gaming, history of hosted dinner party games, and this will eventually be a series of videos that go into the history of gaming as I've been designing tech deck games and doing research into a lot of games. I thought I would create videos to share with you some of the work that I've done. Thank you. Have a good day.